falsity of the statement Islam is incompatible with democracy is actually so obvious. But there are Islamic views on democracy, and these are varied. By Islamic, I mean the people who have actually published on Islam and democracy, the activists in the Muslim world, not the ordinary Muslims who sometimes could not really be bothered to think about this question that involves quite a lot of thinking, intellectual input, and also knowledge about democracy and knowledge about Islam. And we assume that all Muslims know about Islam, but that's not actually true. Some of them can't even read the Quran. It's not only the Western person who cannot read the Quran, but there are thousands of Muslims, millions probably, who can't do it themselves. And they have to rely on a local mullah or alim, or a religious scholar to interpret it for them. So there are different ways of looking at this relationship between religion and democracy, whether Islam is actually the obstacle. As I said, I do not think it is an obstacle to democracy. And there are different views. Let me just give you a panoramic, sort of very quick survey of who likes democracy and who doesn't. Let's start with the people who don't like it at all. And the people who don't like it, who think that democracy is a kufr. Kufr is a word probably that some people have become familiar with. Kufr means blasphemy. And the people who do believe in this are basically the jihadis, the people who have taken to violence in order to impose their point of view. And there are two different types of those, the dormant ones and the active ones. The active ones are more vocal, they make their presence felt because they commit acts of violence. And the dormant ones may share the views, but they do not act. So both of those groups reject democracy on matters as a matter of creed and theology. They reject it, they think that election is as a blasphemous strategy to bring people to Islam, to rule, to government, and they are both democracy and election should be rejected. They do not encourage Muslims to vote if they are in countries where there is the opportunity of voting, but also in the Muslim world they do not promote the idea that people should participate in government or go to the election. And they also reprimand other Islamists for participating in elections. So for example, the Turkish example where we have an Islamist party going into election, for example, Hamas, who has participated in election, you find that in Bin Laden's views and his aide al-Zawahiri, there is a rejection of that act of participating in government because they believe that by participating you give legitimacy to a system that is blasphemous. And even if it's not blasphemous now, it may lead to blasphemy because you can legislate against the rule of God. So these are the people who reject it. Apart from this small minority of jihadis in the Muslim world, we find a spectrum of people who accept it. So let me go through some examples. There are those who are Salafis, and the word Salafi is sometimes confused, and it's a long story. Who the Salafis are actually needs several lectures. But let me take some examples. There are some Salafis who go back to the original text of the Quran, and they're happy to live their life unbothered.